Hey, what's up everybody? It's Lids and we're back for some more Gwent, and today we're playing more of the dual casting seasonal event, which is an alternate game mode in which the first special card that we play in our turn, we play twice. And today we're playing one of the strongest decks in this event that just got way stronger from Claw and Dagger cards. So let's go give it a look. So today we'll be playing a Monsters Arachas Swarm control deck, which was already one of the strongest decks in this event. We've done it many times before. However, it got way stronger from the Claw and Dagger expansion because we got a ton of new organic cards and even a few units that benefit from spamming organic cards, which was one of the few weaknesses that this deck had. Basically, we have a whole bunch of cards that are organics that give us tons of damage and spawn in units along the way, or units that give us access to organic cards that give us damage, things like Crimson Curse, and Hive Mind is one of the new cards, and this is amazing because double Hive Mind does work and allows you to get a bunch more units on the board, including ones that benefit from playing organic cards 2 at a time. So this is amazing, especially because not only can you use it for value in the current round, you can use it late on in a round to get carryover value. Then Kikimore Queen reworked and now much easier to trigger her Thrive, and because it happens every time we play an organic card, that means she's so much stronger in this event. We didn't even use her previous go-rounds for this event, but now she's an amazing engine for you, especially because it's really easy to spawn a bunch of drones in any row in this event because of how many organic cards you're playing. Then again, lots more of the organic control cards. Acid Spit, because we play twice in this event, means you can play it in both rows, and unless your opponent has Veil or an artifact, you can very easily infuse most, if not all, of the units in both rows, which is incredible value. Then Bone Talisman might have been an organic card last time around, but this is a somewhat recent shift, and so now just one more amazing special card. We had it before in this deck, but because it's organic, it means it spawns in more drones, which is just incredible. And all the other control and spontaneous evolution. This one does help you spawn in more units on your side of the board and give you boosts as well, assuming you use it on a drone, which you probably will. But just be careful that you don't run out of board space. In many cases, we actually do want to play at least a little bit in round 2, even if we won round 1, so that we have at least not full length round 3, so that we don't flood our board and run out of board space. But the Stalker can help us in numerous ways, not only giving us a card that can benefit from playing a bunch of organics, giving us tons of damage to finish off whatever we can't get directly from organic cards, but also gives us a way to create a little more board space if we do overfill a row with drones and what have you. So super valuable in that way, just a little bit vulnerable to getting controlled. So if you have anything that can boost up your own units, like Spontaneous Evolution, then oftentimes Stalker's the preferred target. Hideous Feast, also a good thing to use on the Stalker to get it boosted up. Werewolf, in case you're going first, that immunity is useful because there's so much control in this event and your opponent can't target the Werewolf. Then Hatchling is the other new unit that also benefits from playing organic cards, and in this case, it gives us even more ways to get boosts and also spawn more drones, which, again, usually that's not too much of a concern, at least in a long round, but one of the few weaknesses of this deck was getting caught in a short round with a Bone Talisman and very few, if any, ways to create extra drones so that Bone Talisman does not give you much value, and having a Kikimore Hatchling reduces that risk considerably. And then Drowner is a new addition to this deck. It is mostly to set up Acid Spit in case you need to move some units around to more easily spread it to different things. Because you can play 2 Acid Spits, probably not all that necessary, but it's a tech card. And that's pretty much all there is to it. Basically, we have so much control with this deck, you can probably destroy every unit your opponent plays almost immediately, if not immediately, which is pretty insane. So let's go see it in action. Alright, so going up against monsters here, and they'll go first. Okay, so we have a lot of control options here, and that is really our greatest strength of this deck. Thing that worries me is this is a presumably Death Wish deck based on leader ability and stratagem there. That makes me a little concerned about how we may not be able to just damage absolutely everything we see, so Spontaneous Evolution, that might be worth using here, and Hive Mind as well, might need to focus on that. Kikimore Hatchling, things for getting boosted rather than just dealing damage, but we'll see. Okay, Necrorat. Alright, fortunately that is a card that we can go after. Granted, we actually have overkill with basically everything in this case, so maybe natural selection is what we're most willing to use here, if it's gonna get a little bit wasted. Otherwise, you could justify starting off with something like a Hatchling or a Stalker first and going a little more patiently, although these types of cards can get answered from our opponent fairly easily, like we just did to them. So this is looking suddenly a lot more like a Vampires deck, which I'm much happier about, because that's definitely a much better matchup for us. Okay, I mean, we probably should try to destroy you before you can use that order ability as well. We could Triss. Now let's go Arachas Venom. losing one drone to bleed is not a huge deal. Okay, Predatory Dive. I mean, it's not very effective in this case. It does work a little bit, but I think now maybe we do just go Spontaneous Evolution, get ourselves a few more points on the board, and I'm getting the sense they probably don't want to play much further in this round, because I think we frustrated them a bit. Would have very much preferred if another drone had happened to spawn in that row. So our range row is getting pretty crowded now, and if we are to play Triss, she does need to go there. Likewise with Whispess Tribute. But yeah, that's all they want to do, so we'll get a pretty quick and easy round 1 win with the help of our strong control. Okay, so we draw into a little more control here with a couple of Hideous Feasts, and Archespore is a decent throwaway card here. Obviously, they don't really want to destroy it, but it helps us get thinning if they do. And then these guys are potential engines to work around, and we could use Hive Mind for a little bit of carryover here. We are on even cards. I think we probably push at least a little bit, because if we go for a full-length round, then we start to run into issues running out of board space, so I think we want to at least make round 3 a little bit shorter by playing a bit here, and at the very least we have 3 throwaways. So this, I think this can work. Nothing huge. Well, Hideous Feast and whatnot is not huge. And we are going first here, obviously. So I think that's where having cards like Hatchling, Stalker, or Archespore is not bad. Again, it's pretty easy for our opponent to answer whatever we play here. So these guys are probably more valuable than you are. You're safer, though. Sure, we'll try this. It's a little more ambitious, but we'll see. Probably would have preferred to put that in the melee row, to be honest, because as we were saying before, range row, we do have some stuff that's row locked there. So we, if possible, like to be a little more conscious about saving some room there. But it's more vampires, and Necarat we can destroy, and so this is the benefit of having played this turn 1, is that now we do get extra value from all the organic cards we play, and for that reason, we could even justify some Kikimore Stalker plays here, and you know what? Might actually do this. Ah, no, right, Predator's gonna, I was gonna say, we could, well, hold on a second. Has to be lower, or can it be tied with Predator? Power lower than Own. Yeah, we can't quite do this, can we? Well, hold on. We've just barely enough damage? I think we might. I think we do. I'm okay about doing this, because obviously it answers that, but also we need to be a little bit careful with our leader ability charges. As I said, we are very susceptible to running out of board space. Having one leader ability charge at least, so that we have a target for things like a Spontaneous Evolution, is nice, although we already used that, so it's not a huge deal. And here's the control that we've used, that now they're using. As I said, that is not out of the question that they will have a way to answer. But now we could use things like Hideous Feast to boost ourselves up, and in more ways than one. That might not be a bad option here. Let's go for it. Obviously the damage is overkill, but it does allow us to do a little bit of that. Okay, well, looks awfully familiar. But the thing is, yes, they can do similar stuff to what we're doing, but as an Arachas Swarm deck going up against an Overwhelming Hunger deck, if it's a Battle of Organic card control, obviously advantage goes to us. So, and now, I mean, we could just Hideous Feast you. Obviously, we'd kind of prefer to use this on bigger targets, ones that are more valuable than just a drone. I'm tempted to Hive Mind, although I'd kind of like to have this give us carryover for round 3. This might even just be a Archespore turn. Keep it simple. Wait for them to play something that's a higher priority to remove. Okay, Detloff. This is more what we expected to see when we saw their leader ability, but with no other vampires, Detloff is not giving us much in the way of Blood Moon, and that's a card that, once again, we're not that concerned about losing to bleed damage. Now we do, however, have a much better target for Hideous Feast. Not that Detloff is going to have much value without more Blood Moon, but sure, we'll go after him. And we'll boost you up, once again, just to facilitate spawning more stuff in this row. Okay, Parasite, if they use both charges, both rounds, on the Hatchling, they will be able to destroy it. As we were saying, if it's gonna come down to organics versus organics. We will win out. We still have the lead here, so if we wanted to, we could pass at any point in time now, and they would have to play one more card in order to win this round. Otherwise, we just win the match 2-0, and that means we have card advantage in double Lacerate in round 3, which is really nice, but I think we can still push a little bit longer here. Not loving Acid Spit. It's an amazing card in this event, don't get me wrong, but I think we want to use it in a longer round and play it earlier, whereas now it's just not great when there's only one card to target with it. I'm thinking Whispess for, could even be a Crimson Curse of our own. Nah. Parasite, maybe? Parasite, yeah, let's do that. We'll go Parasite, we'll hit you with one of them, and then we'll boost ourselves with a different one. Okay, Crimson Curse, they'll get both rows here. That's a really solid play there. Good value, and a card that normally we would strongly consider having tutored out with something like Whispess, but we just didn't have many cards to hit with all the Blood Moon, because they only had one. Now that's changed a bit, though. Lacerate is perhaps a little more valuable, as would be Acid Spit. As I said, it's maybe still a little later than I would like to be playing that. Could still pass on this turn and dare them to catch us in one more turn. Triss is not bad, especially if we happen to get ourselves a Bone Talisman. So that's kind of what I'm eyeing here. I would sort of like to finish with Hive Mind. So maybe it's Triss and then finish with Hive Mind. Let's go for that. Okay, that's what I'm looking for. That's what I'm looking for. So that gives us very good tempo. That, I mean, we could pass now, and it might take them more than one turn to catch us at this point. Unseen Elder, though, is very big. Now, we, granted, did use much of our control already here, and they have Devotion, so that is a pretty powerful Unseen Elder, no less. So, I mean, we could use Hive Mind here, and double Hive Mind does work in this event, and would give us a form of carryover, or we could just lead off with it fairly early in round 3, which is also not a bad idea. Our Lacerate's not terrible. Going one in each row, it's not enough to remove Unseen Elder. I think we pass here, and we see how long it takes them to catch us. They might be able to do it in one turn, but I think it might even take 2, at which point that gives us a pretty convincing advantage in round 3. Okay, so they were gonna make extra Unseen Elders, but that is not an... Oh, yeah, they can, because they have Devotion. Okay, just barely enough for them to win in round 2, but they did have to go a card down, so now we have card advantage and double Lacerate in round 3, which I think will very likely be just about game, set, and match here. Now, we have already played many of our best cards. Archespore, we played the previous one in the previous round, so don't really need that. Previously, Bone Talisman in a short round 3 was sort of the weakness of this deck. If you didn't have a lot of stuff on the board, then this was going to be almost a brick, but now at least an organic card, so that makes it at least capable of spawning in the drones. Don't really think we need Werewolf here, especially not when we're on a red coin, and I think we have enough organics that we're not really concerned about Bone Talisman breaking here. Right. Not entirely sure what to make of Cave Troll. Stalker is nice if we could get it down early. However, we may just end up going Hive Mind to get Stalkers pretty much immediately. But I think what we'll do then is just a question of which one of these goes first. Let's go. They have the Defender, so let's prioritize boosting rather than damage. Let's do... I guess we'll go Worker last as a point slam. And we'll go same order here. That way, I think we'll still have enough time to get the value out of it, but they won't have much of any... In fact, they'll have no time, in all likelihood, to answer. Okay, that was not bad. That was pretty solid Witch's Sap. Now we have very few units in our graveyard here, but that's double Unseen... Now triple Unseen Elder. Okay, no, they mean business. All right, fair enough. I did not really expect them to have that kind of setup. So in that case, this Defender is going to make Acid Spray significantly less valuable. I see all these units lined up and really want to go Lacerate, but I think we kind of need to go Acid Spray first, don't we? And we might even want to go with a Stalker before we do any of our additional... Oh, we could move you. We should move you. Absolutely should. Okay, yeah. This is what... Not exactly the way that Drowner was planned for this deck, but we can make it work here. Fletter with the Elders. I mean, they obviously have a pretty huge lead here to start off with, and they have solid engines. With the Devotion on those Unseen Elders, they actually happened to destroy an Archespore. That worked out pretty well, but I don't think we can rely on that happening much going forward. So, Now Acid Spray, suddenly, way, way better. So I think that's what we go for here in all likelihood, and then we break out the Lacerate to finish people off. Unless, question is Stalker. It's a little awkward because it's a little slow. But will the patience pay off? Do we have enough time to do it? I think we take our chances. Because if we don't, then we're going to get... It's going to be pretty much an assured brick. Does trigger the Thrive for what it's worth. So then it's Acid Spit and maybe Lacerate and then Bone Talisman. Okay, yeah, they're going after... They won't be able to answer all of them for what it's worth. At least not from these guys, although the Unseen Elders, they may add up. We do have Veil on the Stalkers, though, so that helps. Okay. So now it's you. And I think maybe we go after the Unseen Elders, but we should go for stuff that's relatively centrally located. Actually, I'm not even sure if we can double down. We might be able to use double Acid Spit infusions on the same unit, which for this Unseen Elder that's pretty centrally located is kind of tempting. But maybe we'll do... you know what? Let's do it. Because it does work. And then we can do this. No, you're not quite low enough yet. Darn. What can we hit? Oh, these drones, which we don't really care about. Okay. I don't know. This is going to be a lot closer than I expected it to be honest with you. I'm curious what they go for. It's the right move. It's the right move. For a second there, it looks like they're being tempted by the warriors there. Yeah, that's actually huge. So that was my plan for getting rid of the Unseen Elders. Now we can, of course, still use Lacerate to get solid value here, but not quite as much as I'd hoped. Now, the warrior, I mean, we technically could still do... This is technically the best option. That was their last play, but now they are still going to get value from these Unseen Elders. This has been weakened and spread the infusion, so I think a lot of this is going to come down to how effective that infusion is. So I think now it's probably Lacerate. Should spread infusions. Lacerate again. And now here we're starting to get the workers as well, so don't forget Hive Mind, still giving us value here, and in fact that's already enough for us. That's amazing. Theoretically, although again, Unseen Elders will still do their thing, so we will still need to take this last turn. But I think we can make this work for us. So if we go, create an extra one of you, and probably do either of these as well, or technically you, because you're going to take the bleed damage, or even you. Do that, and then finish with the Bone Talisman, and even after taking the bleed damage, that should be enough. We get the extra Kikimore Warrior, and here you see just how much that Hive Mind pays off for us, and the infusions as well. Sure, we'll throw one of those in as well. Alright, so going up against Skellige here, and he'll go first. Alright, so we're on red coin, which means we can maybe be a little more aggressive with our control here, not have to worry as much about having something to play turn one, like Werewolf, when our opponent doesn't have anything for us to target. Then, speaking of things for our opponent to target, Archespore, we don't feel that bad about playing that, because that can give us thinning if they do go after it. And then, for feeling ambitious, Hatchling, Stalker, if those do stick around, can give us some solid value. And Spontaneous Evolution, and Parasite to a certain extent, even Hideous Feast give us some potential to put up points on our side, as can Bone Talisman. So yeah, okay, I think this is certainly workable. Hive Mind, obviously, huge as well. So, is this Infinite Compass? Is the first question we need to ask ourselves. Because that is the strongest deck in this event when played properly, and the fact that they have a Preacher there makes me concerned, because that is potentially a card that they can build around with Infinite Compass, which is something we've done many times before if you're interested in that, and has a bunch of different ways you can potentially play it. Many options to answer that. Maybe Arachas Venom. It's a little bit overkill, but we have two of them in our hands, so sure. Why not? We'll do this. Because presumably they were trying to get Preachers set up as quickly as possible, and they may still be able to play that from their graveyard and or find other ways to create new ones, but we shall see. Okay, Oniro, they might be getting more from their deck, but if they're gonna go Infinite Compass, no, it doesn't look like it. Okay, that still very likely that they have a Magic Compass in their deck, but that is different from quote-unquote Infinite Compass, and although still strong, not as threatening. So I feel a little bit better about that. Now, we would like to get rid of Clan Preacher here nonetheless, because that still has a ton of potential to grow. So at this point, we would have to use Parasite, which unfortunately is a little bit overkill in the second go-round. We'd have 3 overkill damage, but I think to shut off what is potentially a very potent engine is still reason enough to go for that. So let's do it. And although we aren't putting up that many points, getting drones on the board is still useful. We have a Bone Talisman. Yeah, so just getting closer to having set up for that and using a Spontaneous Evolution on a couple of these, then following up with a Bone Talisman gives us tons of tempo. So, okay, they look like a pretty wholesome standard alchemy deck. Standard as in a typical alchemy deck, not standard mode, but might we be able to get away with playing one of our engines here? Possibly. Not really sure we need the wide support, so if we need to do that, we can still go Evolution plus Talisman. So maybe we try to go for Stalker here, and that could be the recipient of the Evolution boost. And then we can go after a whole bunch of stuff. In fact, we could have, and probably should have, at least hit one to make sure we got some value out of that. But we'll see. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I've not tried using alchemy stuff, typical alchemy deck without Infinite Compass, after the whole bonded unit rework, which, as this is a bonded unit, there is something to be said for trying that out. But I think now we go Spontaneous Evolution. Let's do this. And it's tempting to do it again, to be honest with you. Maybe it would probably fill this row. It's what, 3 drones? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, which means, oh, we perfectly fill this row, which I think we're still okay with. So we do that. We have a bazillion charges here. And by a bazillion charges, I mean we can almost, but not quite destroy you. But on our next turn, we could do Hideous Feast to remove you. Which I think we'd like to. You're also bonded. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So we don't love rain, because that's half decent for wide damage purposes. So I think we are looking at Hideous Feast here. This is on cooldown. Is that reason enough to ignore it for the time being? Maybe, maybe not. Otherwise, we could go double Hideous Feast on you and remove you. So maybe we do prioritize you for the time being. Let's do this. Don't really care about boosting you up as much anymore. Let's maybe not give them a ginormous unit to go after if they have something like Heat Wave. And with our damage, yeah, we'll still hit you. And now, curious if they use this. Resetting this. That has been nerfed slightly. No longer Zeal when you reset locations like that. But this is why, as I was saying, not a huge fan of the rain, because it is decent at doing wide damage to us. But now we could go Arachas Venom here, damage the 2 of you. Yeah, we should do that. Little overkill damage in that case. But now I think we use 1 charge to remove you in case they had any plans of replaying you with teleportation or something along those lines. And then, other than that, I mean, we don't want to remove Chrome Mother, but sure, we'll hit her once. And we are in the lead now. Obviously, they still have this order ability there, but with no more of the creatures, that's not as effective. Axel 3 Eyes, though, is certainly not bad in this event. Throw in the Froth as well. Okay. So Hive Mind obviously is an amazing card for us. However, it is pretty unique in the way that it can potentially give us some carryover value, which is why I'm deliberately delaying it a little bit here. But maybe it's Hive Mind now, and then finish with Bone Talisman on our next turn and hope that's the last card we need to play, because you're not going to give us great value at this point in all likelihood. And the Hatchling, we would have wanted to have played it earlier if we were looking to use it this round. So I think what we do is we go here. Let's go, we'll deliberately front load with the base power. Then I'm gonna go otherwise prioritizing engines. Oh, except no, don't do that. So we are likely to play one more card. One more organic card in this round. So yeah, I'm trying to save the best cards for round 2/3 so that we're benefiting a lot from the carryover value. So that's the primary thing that I'm looking for from Hive Mind there. Because Bone Talisman, now, huge point slam. Hopefully, I mean, it's definitely enough for us to pass them on this turn. I'm hoping this is the last thing we need to play in this round. But now, this is what I mean. Like, that, in particular, would have liked to have saved that for a later round, which is why on the second one, I chose Kikimore Warrior there, because that's probably one of the worst ones. So now, we'll just hit some stuff, and basically hope that they try not to catch us here. Yeah. Okay, so they'll let us win this round, on even cards, no less. And we have some carrier value from that Hive Mind still, so we may try to push for the 2-0. Okay, we're drawn into a whole bunch of units here, though, so that's not great. Drowner can work with Acid Spit, but we don't have that right now. We could get it with Whispess Tribute, so that's not bad. But they didn't have much control. So maybe they're about to break a bunch out, but I think Werewolf is not all that necessary. Bone Talisman in a short round is a little bit dangerous, although I think we still have a bunch of leader ability charges, so that's not too bad. And Hatchling, with proper setup, could still benefit a bit as well. We could either pass, and they have to go card down, and that gives us card advantage in double last say in round 3. That's certainly not bad. Or we could push, because we're on even cards here, so not bad. And we have some decent carrier value from 2 Hive Minds here. So I think I might even prefer to do that. And then we'll go Hatchling first. Yeah, I wish we had the chance to swap out Drowner. Maybe we don't play absolutely every card in this round. Is that reason enough not to play in this round? I think it's still Hatchling. Okay, Oniro. Okay, we know what they want to do. It's a Troubadour. I'm just gonna give them a Preacher, and they're gonna try to get another Preacher. They're gonna remove the lock. That gets back Crow Mother. Okay. So, ooh, that does suddenly make it a lot tougher to get rid of you, though, because you're out of Hideous Feast range. It's kind of what I was hoping to do here, although, granted, we would kind of also like to do an Acid Spit, although in a short round, is that even the best option for us? Maybe it's one of their options. We have a Natural Selection. Would be enough. I think we might do that instead. And then we still have some good cards if this does end up going to round 3. So we do this, which will give us a little bit of carrier, or a little bit of overkill value, rather. And these guys now have some charges, although we don't really have great stuff for them to go after. So those are going to be the things we want to boost up with Hideous Feast in all likelihood. Does mean that now Drowner is definitely a pretty weak play. But I'm curious what they go for here. I'm going to reset this. Okay, that's very similar to the round 1 strategy. Shorter rounds, and we now have more stuff set up on the board than they do. So I do wonder if they can still pull this off. Still their leader ability, which is very good in this event. So that may be reason enough. They arguably, no, they shouldn't use it here. So they would have already played a special. We absolutely want to remove you, and we will be able to remove you on this turn. So let's do this, which will turn into another Hatchling. And then we now use Hideous Feast, and we can use this to hit you, boost you, hit you, boost you. Now you guys are big enough to go after basically any and everything, most importantly you. But you, in case they're going to use teleportation or something like that, don't really want to destroy Crow Mother. But what we'll do is we'll keep her on low power so that they can't use Battle Trance on her, or specifically Martyrdom on her. Okay, Fucrucia, probably to get back. Oh no, Axel. Okay, I was going to expect a Crow Clan Preacher, but that also works pretty well. So that is good value. They have not caught us yet, so for what it's worth, we could pass now, and they would still need to go a card down, and we'd have card advantage and double last say in round 3, in a much shorter round 3, but maybe we still feel okay about that. I think we still have solid engines set up here, though, with the Stalkers, and with at least one Hatchling. We can go Warrior to convert this drone into something a little bit bigger as well. Don't really want to play Drowner, but I think we play one more turn here. If we do this, we do that, we do that. We've run out of Hive Minds, but that's okay. And now, if we maybe even do a little more here, then do this. Increase the value of Bone Talisman. And now we just go crazy. And they realize they cannot stop us, and so they forfeit. Alright, so going up against Scoia'tael here. And they'll go first. Alright, so we have lots of control options here, and especially on red coin, I think that's a pretty good thing, because we can just respond to whatever they play. Werewolf would be a good blue coin option, but since we're not on blue coin, I don't really think that's all that necessary. Let's swap you out. Archespore, if they have control, it's a card they don't really want to hit. And if we're feeling ambitious, we can try to sneak in a hatchling here, and that could give us some better long-term value. Otherwise, we're relying a lot on just dealing damage to give us most of our points in Hive Mind. Some great value potential there, too. Parasite could give us some boosts as well. Okay, so definitely on the control/damage side. Absolutely. So this is going to require that we be very aggressive with removing whatever they play. Feign Death. I don't know, not a huge fan of scenarios in this event, to be honest with you, in most cases. Yes, I suppose this one in particular, getting the extra waylay, something to be said for that. But it's still a lot of provisions invested in something that does not give you that much extra value in this event in particular. Arachas Venom is awfully tempting right about now. In fact, we can basically wipe out this entire row. Also a little bit tempted to go with an Acid Spray, although we don't have great options there just because they can transform some stuff to remove the infusions, and they only have one card in this row right now as well. So I think we just go for this, and then that. And now they've already lost a fair bit of their value from their scenario. And at this point, if they want to get waylay for targeting drones, we'll settle for it. And that is, okay, they're setting up a waylay bomb. Now that, to be fair, the waylay bomb itself can certainly give them a ton of value in this event, but I think that's where perhaps we can anticipate it and use things like Lacerate and Acid Spray for some wide control and even Manticore Venom and get some really good value out of that. So I think that's still something that if we're saving that, we can get good counter for them. So let's maybe get a little ambitious here, either go Archespore or the Hatchling, maybe go Archespore. And this one's the safer option, because they don't really want to hit this. And then Hatchling, we'd like to ideally get on the board for a few more points to set ourselves up for scoring some more points on our end. Yeah, setting up the waylay bomb, understandably. Okay, so now maybe we do sneak you in. That is a card that they would be very well justified in targeting, although they don't really want to be playing more waylays anymore, but we'll see. I mean, they could Sim Loss right now if they really wanted to, but I imagine that's going to be their round 3 win condition. Maxi. I mean, this is now looking a whole lot like just a standard deck. Oh, well, hold on. Telekinesis. What are they up to? It's another Vanadane. Oh, I wonder if they set up their deck specifically to guarantee that was going to be another Vanadane. Is that... Okay, I was about to sell them short and say that perhaps this is just a standard deck, and it wasn't really going to get enough value out of its special cards to be much of a threat. I take it back. That was clever. I like it. Well played. Okay, can we get rid of you? Can we do that without needing to use some of the control that we were saying we really wanted to save? Could do it with Parasite. Don't love that, because it's going to be overkill damage if we go both rounds on Telekinesis, but I think it might kind of need to be that. So don't really want to give you access to your order ability. I think it probably still pays off to remove you. Okay, well, they're going to use a backup plan from their hand in that case, and it is going to hit you. Fortunately, we got at least some value out of it, and the Vanguard, I imagine, they at least have enough guys in that range row that's pretty valuable. And that, I assume they'll use to destroy you. Which they will do. Okay, so, I mean, they're already wide here in this round. So again, it's really tempting to break out some of this stuff, but I'm expecting a ridiculous waylay bomb because they've put so many waylays either in their hand or in their deck at this point, so with a proper setup, they could absolutely shower us with waylays and fill possibly every single row with entirely dead eyes, in which case, really gonna want things like these guys to answer all that. So I think for that reason, we probably try to keep it simple for now, and we're gonna rely on a Triss finisher, I think. And hope for a, let's see, who do we want to target here? Possibly Vanadane. We're going to hope for, not that we're really going to destroy anyone altogether. We're going to hope for a Bone Talisman with Triss, basically. Is our key win condition might require that we get some additional setup with our leader ability too. They might pass here if they think we can't catch them. It is a bit of a risk because we don't know what we're going to get with Triss. They do pass. Okay, so now we need to ask ourselves, do we think we can catch them with just Triss? Which I think it really comes down to what do we get with the special card there. I think we can, though, or at least I believe. I believe that we can do it. Maybe I'm going to get ourselves in trouble here. We're going to use all but one leader ability charge. That way we have a lot of additional setup for Triss, and so we get the Potent Talisman, we're going to get good value. We still have one charge in case we have to have a target for a spontaneous evolution later on. Let's see what we get. Looking for Potent Talisman above all else, and we get it. And that's definitely the best option. We do not have Epidemic in our deck, so they have it. That's interesting. And we do not have Offering. They have that. This is definitely enough. All right. We will catch them. So there you have it. We beat Feigned Death in round 1. Okay, and now the tricky thing is we played one more card than them to win round 1. Yes, that might mean that we'd want to dry pass here. However, a long round is a little bit tough for us because we are likely to run out of board space. Granted, they probably are too if they're going to use a Waylay Bomb. So in that way, we kind of like to play a little bit in round 2 in order to shorten round 3, and that means we might need to settle for going a card down. However, Hive Mind can give us a bit of carryover, so even if we do go a card down, we might be willing to do that if we get the carryover from Hive Mind. So that's kind of what I'm leaning toward right now. Maybe even a Crimson Curse in this round might not be out of the question either. I think we stick with this for now. I think we probably lead with the Hive Minds. What I'm wondering, though, is the order in which we use this, because tempo-wise, the best option would be to go for the, what is it, the Worker? The one that's 7 power with 3 armor, but can get destroyed if they target it with a damage special, like, say, a Waylay. But maybe they aren't trying to use those right now. Otherwise, longer term, these two are the best engines. What if we actually lead Crimson Curse here? That's the other card that I was considering playing. Because usually you wouldn't want to do that turn 1, because obviously there's no units out there, and usually you only have one Crimson Curse. You don't want to play it before your opponent plays units, because they just play all their other units in whatever row you do not put the Blood Moon on. But since we can fit both rows with the Blood Moon, then that's not really a concern. And the reason why, more so, I wanted to do it was because that way we play Hive Mind next turn, and we are only getting the one instance of Hive Mind conversions here, and the other 3 instances of Hive Mind value we're getting in round 3, which is where we actually care about it. So otherwise, if we played this first and then did Crimson Curse, which is what I was originally planning to do, we'd get one more Hive Mind proc in round 2, which is, again, just not really what we're looking for here. This is interesting. That's, it's not enough tempo-wise. It's not enough tempo-wise. That's very odd. Because then we could just pass, and we'd both be on 6 cards, and I mean, they made that awfully easy for us. I was not expecting them to play such a low-tempo play there. I mean, I guess the Vitality does counter Blood Moon to a very small extent, and maybe they tried to go unitless to a very small extent to limit the value of this. But I think we'd still go Hive Mind here. And then, yes, I think we go probably Worker first. So this is going to be the last thing we do in round 2 in all likelihood. So this we're using in round 2 just for tempo, although it is a card that could certainly destroy with Waylays. Then we go for these guys who should show up early in round 3, which would be good because they're both engines, and then Warrior's the lowest value one. Do the same order here, or roughly the same order. So we get the engines when we need them in round 3, and then the Warrior, you know, we don't need to be too concerned about optimizing that. So now I'm curious to see what direction they go in here. They've used both Waylays at this point. It's a... Oh, for Hive Mind, I imagine. I was first thinking, well, usually you'd use that to get rid of Echo copies, but Hive Mind, yeah, all right, fair enough. Well, do you have a second squirrel? You do not. You only had 1. Okay, these guys are 4 provisions, so I imagine you're going to go after one of them. Still wouldn't be enough for you to catch us, though. In fact, is that what that is? Okay, yes. So I think we still pass here. So they will need to play one more card, so we'll both be finishing with 5 cards, means we'll have 8 cards in round 3. We've successfully made round 3 at least a little bit shorter, so we have a little bit less concern about running out of board space. They did remove one of our Hive Minds, so that means that we are going to only get this one carry over into the next round, which is unfortunate, but we'll get the Hatchling and the Stalker early in round 3 for a little bit of extra value. So we have some carryover that they cannot match. So now this should not be difficult for them to catch us here. I mean, Offering is not enough. Speaking of carryover, it does give them carryover, but they need to use leader ability charges here. Okay. which, I mean, granted, it's not a terrible thing for them, because usually you want to use that leader ability. They forgot about the bleed damage. Darn, I really wanted to see that round 3. So there's a look at a Monsters Arachas Swarm deck for the new dual casting seasonal event. If you liked the video, then make sure to like and subscribe button, and leave a comment down below to let me know which other cards, archetypes, and factions we should experiment with next. And take a look at our dual casting playlist to see previous decks that we've used in this event as well, including lots of iterations of the deck we played today. Thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you next time.